Hello everybody, Judge April, the Cube Critic, back with another top 10 list. Coming in at number 10, the worst cards in Cube. And I'm gonna get some hate for this because a lot of people love these cards. All of these cards on the list have people that love them, but those people are wrong. I'm the Cube Critic. I get to tell people exactly what you shouldn't be doing. Number 10 is Avalanche Riders. This card historically was pretty good. It costs 3 and a red, and you get a 2/2 haste dude that blows up a land. And if that was all that it did, it would be okay. I mean, I wouldn't say it would be one of the worst cards in Cube, but it certainly wouldn't be a high pick. But this card also has Echo. So in order to just keep your 2/2 around, you have to pay that 3 and a red again. And it's just not something that the red deck wants to be doing. It's so expensive. It's so expensive to blow up a single land and do 2 damage. I think most red decks would much rather cast, on 4 mana, a Cough of the Hammer, a Hell Rider. Any burn spell is gonna be probably better than Avalanche Riders. It's just not good. It's just not good. It just doesn't do what the red decks want to be doing in the cube. And for that reason, I think it's number 10. It's just too expensive. I think there are easy cards that could easily be swapped in for Avalanche Riders that do very similar effects that cost even less. Things like Molten Rain, which blows up a land and does 2 damage but costs only 3, would be much better. Something like Pillage, which blows up a land or an artifact for 1 and 2 red. Similarly, I think would be much better than Avalanche Riders. Still necessarily not exactly what the red deck wants to be doing, but I think it's not bad. Whereas Avalanche Riders is just bad and doesn't belong in the cube. Really, any 2/2 for 2 would be better for a red deck than Avalanche Riders. Coming in at number 9 is Tangle Wire. Tangle Wire is kind of a weird card. It's kind of a weird taxing, smokestacky type card. Basically, you go back and forth and everybody just taps down a bunch of stuff, and then slowly over time you tap down less. But it's just not good. You pay 3 mana to cast it and then just nothing happens for the next 4 turns of the game. That's it. It's just a card that just does nothing. It makes the game have nothing happen. There's maybe a couple decks that it might be okay in. Like the mono red deck might want it. Or a deck that has like a lot of signets might want it. But even then, you'd probably just be better off with another mana rock or another 2/1 for 1 red or some creature or anything that has an actual effect on the game besides just making the game take longer, which is great. I mean, Vintage Cube is fun. We all like taking more turns. I just don't think Tangle Wire is the way that a deck wants to be doing it in the Vintage Cube. Tangle Wire, you're out of here. Coming in at number 8 is a card that I was so excited when it was first printed. I thought, oh, this card is gonna be great. And it's okay in Commander, but it's really not a good Vintage Cube card, and that is Dualcaster Mage. It has a vaguely Snapcaster feel to it. And for that reason alone, I think people think it's good. It costs 1 and 2 red, and you just, when it comes down, it gets to copy, I believe, an instant or a sorcery. But the only deck that wants to play this card, the would play it, is the mono red aggro deck. And that deck doesn't want to just sit there holding up mana turn after turn in hopes that the opponent is going to cast something that they're going to copy. Sure, it might be great that you get to copy your opponent's Ancestral Recall, but really you just want to be killing them. You don't want to be sitting there waiting for a chance to eke out a little bit of card advantage while getting a 2/2 body. It's just not good enough. Again, any small red creature I think is just better for the red deck than Dualcaster Mage. It just doesn't have a home in the cube, and for that reason, you're out. Number 7 is Thrun the Last Troll. And I feel bad because I hate to say that the last troll should be completely, extinctified. I guess that's what I'm saying, right? The last troll should be given the boot, but Thrun, I'm sorry, you're just not good enough. You cost 4 mana, and it's a 4/4 body that has hexproof and can't be countered and can regenerate. So normally, in like a normal cube, it's a very annoying green card. It just gets to attack every turn, and it's hard to deal with. You can't kill it or whatever. But in the Vintage Cube, that's just doing nothing. It's just 4 mana for essentially for what is most of the time just a 4/4 with no text on it. It's just not good. So Thrun, I'm sorry, you're done. You're done for. No more trolls on whatever plane the Vintage Cube takes place on. Coming in at number 6 is Pernicious Seed. This is a card that is so good in Legacy, it's so good in EDH, but there's just no support for it in any deck at all in the Vintage Cube. The idea with Pernicious Seed is you get to blow it up for, it's a green and a black, and then at any time you can pay X and you can blow up any, I think it's artifact, creature, or enchantment that costs X or less. And in the right deck, in EDH or in Legacy, something with like Veteran Explorer, which just gets 2 lands from your deck, or a cube with things like Farseek and Rampant Growth, which just pulls lands out of your deck, and then you get to accelerate, and then your Pernicious Seed doesn't affect you at all. That would be a great environment for Pernicious Seed, but those cards don't really exist in the Vintage Cube. There's Search for Tomorrow, there's Steve, the Secure Tri-Belter, but by and large, there aren't many cards that just get you lands from your library and put them directly into play. There's lots of those in the Vintage Cube, in the Legacy Cube, where it would be really quite good, I think. There's just none of those in Vintage Cube. In Vintage Cube, your acceleration comes in the form of signets. And in order to use Pernicious Seed, then you have to blow up your own signets. There's just no deck that doesn't want to play signets. So Pernicious Seed just doesn't have a home, and for that reason, I think it's gone. Coming in at number 5 is a card that is terrible in every cube ever made. I've never seen this card be good. I don't know why it's even in the Vintage Cube, and that is Delvar of Secrets. There's not a blue aggro deck in the Vintage Cube, which I think Delvar of Secrets wants to have. You only have singletons of cards that let you look at the top of your library, and there's just not that many cantripy type cards like that in the Vintage Cube. There's only one Brainstorm, there's only one Preordain, there's only one Ponder. There's just not many cards that let you rearrange the top of your library. So most of the time when my opponent plays a Delvar of Secrets, I'm like, fantastic, they're gonna be attacking me with a 1/1 for 1 for the next 5 turns. And that's the way it is in most cubes, just because most cubes are singleton formats and they're just not enough cards to make it good. So Delvar of Secrets, you should be out. Any blue draw spell, any blue counter spell, any blue card that does something I think would be better than Delvar of Secrets in the cube. Coming in at number 4 is Academy Rector. Again, this is a card that just doesn't have a home. Now, what it does is it costs 3 colorless and a white, and when it dies, you can just stick to go through your library and put any enchantment into the battlefield directly. In theory, that's very powerful, and there are formats like EDH where that's extremely good, where you get to put in something like Omniscience into play, which lets you cast your entire deck. But in Vintage Cube, there's only a handful of super, super strong enchantments like that. You've got Sneak Attack, you've got Oath of Druids, you've got Survival of the Fittest. There are these powerful enchantments, but 1, they all cost less than Academy Rector, and 2, you have to let Academy Rector die for it to happen. There's no way, it's super hard to actually kill her. You want to just kill this nice lady. I don't know, actually, she's probably not that nice. She's probably kind of mean. You want to kill this lady. You can't kill her. Your opponents will not block her if you attack with her. They're not going to give you an opportunity to sacrifice her by blocking her when they attack with the dude. It just does nothing. It just does nothing at all. There's no enchantments that it wants to get. So for that reason, I think Academy Rector needs to go. Maybe there's a cube where it could work. It would need things like Innocent Blood. It would need things like Phyrexian Tower, which lets you sacrifice it immediately to get a couple black mana. You need like self-sacrifice things, and then you need really, really busted enchantments that just straight up win you the game for Academy Rector to be good. There's no other combo piece to go with Academy Rector. Even worse, like some of the cards that are really busted enchantments, like Oath of Druids, are total wombo combos, whatever with it, because you want Oath of Druids in your deck, but you don't want Oath of Druids into Academy Rector, which is just a terrible card. So, Academy Rector, you're out of here. Coming in at number 3 is a card that is the quintessential fair card. There's nothing bad about the card except for that it sucks, and that is Vampire Nighthawk. Vampire Nighthawk costs 1 and 2 black. It's a 2/3 flyer, so it's got flying, that's great. It's got lifelink, that's great. It's got death touch, that's great. But it does nothing at all. It just does nothing. The best deck all of the other decks in Cube are doing super busted things. So It's in black, which is not a color, it's a color you want to splash because there's a lot of really good cards in black, but you don't want to be a base black deck that a card like Vampire Nighthawk would go in. Maybe if it were a 2/4 flyer, it would be a really good sideboard card against the mono red deck, but because it's a 2/3, it just eats every single burn spell in the format. It eats a lightning bolt or a chain lightning or lightning strike or whatever. It just eats any burn spell and it just dies immediately. If you just spent 3 mana to do nothing as a sideboard card, then that's a really bad deal. So I think Vampire Nighthawk needs to go. Coming in at number 2 is a card that, you know, I thought they added it to the Vintage Cube last year because it was a new card, and I thought, well, okay, Wizards wants to highlight a new card. I get it, you know, it's the new set, whatever. Surely it will be gone for this Vintage Cube because the card is so bad, but lo and behold, there it is again, doing nothing, being terrible, and that is Windfall the Preserver. This card costs 4 colorless and 2 white. It costs 6 mana. And keep in mind, this is in a format where there are a ton of 2 mana, 3 mana spells that just straight up win you the game. This card costs 6 mana in white, which is just not a color that wants to be casting expensive creatures in general in this cube. And it might gain you 5 life, and it gives you a 5/5 body, whatever, and it might give you possibly another 3/3 body. So in a world where mono red is bad, where, you know, they might be able to kill you on by turn 6, gaining that 5 life and getting a couple bodies is really good. In this cube, the aggressive decks are gonna kill you by turn 6. They're gonna bolt you, attack you from early on for a bunch of damage. You know, they're just gonna be killing you too quickly for Windfall to ever be good. I don't know why it's here. There are so many poopy angels or whatever that they could replace it with that cost so much less and would do so much more for the white deck. Windfall, just, you're gone. Coming in at number 1 is a card that literally just does nothing. It's so bad. And that is Mana Garter Hydra. Mana Garter Hydra costs 2 and a green, and you get a 1/1 body, and then with trample. And every time somebody casts a spell, it grows. And that's all that it does. It's just a dumb body, and it's a dumb body in the worst color in the cube, which is green. And it comes down and it just eats a lightning bolt because it's still only a 2/2. So maybe if it came down as a 3/3 for 3 that had the same growing thing, it might actually be decent. But because it can be killed by a bolt spell right away, and because it's just a body that has no interactive text, it doesn't affect the opponent at all, it doesn't have haste, it doesn't hit him for damage right away, it doesn't do anything but just grow and get bigger and bigger until it eats a Doomblade or something. Well, I don't think Doomblade, but it eats a removal spell. There's literally no reason for it to be in the cube at all. Even like naturalize, any green value creature, I think costing 3 that actually interacts with your opponent in any way whatsoever, or accelerates you, or fetches a land, or something that does anything would be better than Mana Garter Hydra. But this card is just a blank text. It's so small, it doesn't even kill people until like 4 or 5 turns later when it's big enough because it can't be attacking when it's a 2/2 or 3/3 often. It's just a bad card, and needs to go. So, this has been another episode of April, the Cube Critic this time. I think I'm the Cube Critic this time. I got to criticize a lot of bad choices that have been made in this cube. Don't draft these cards. These cards are all terrible, and pretty much there's no deck that they go in. They're not gonna be strong. You just don't want them at all. Wizards, I think, could easily replace all these 10 cards for the next iteration of the Vintage Cube, and I think people would be happy to have the new variety, so. Or, you know, if they're watching Wizards of the Coast, call me. I'll design the next Vintage Cube. I'll make the updates.